They say darkness is something to be feared, something to shrink away from. But I came to understand that it is not only a harbinger of despair, it is a crucible. In the depth of that void, I found the raw material of strength. Every scar, every tear, every moment of utter exhaustion, the night I thought I would break, those were the building blocks. The void whispered lies. You will never rise, you will never conquer. But I answered with resolve. I accepted the cold of that shadow because it honed me, sharpened my edges until I became unbreakable. I learned that to stand tall, I do not need the sun's blessing. I only needed to stand firm while the world was dark. When fear tried to consume me, I made a choice. Fear would not own me. Every trembling step, every ounce of hesitation, I transformed into fuel. The weight of doubt became the iron on my back, an unrelenting reminder that I had to push harder, dig deeper. I refused comfort. I welcomed the pressure because diamonds are forged under it. The moment I embraced my own cracks, my own brokenness, was the moment I became whole. For in truth, you cannot know your strength until you have been tested, until your spirit is squeezed, until it bleeds. And that is when you see what you are made of. Now I walk through fire with my head unbowed. I carry the memory of every dark hour like a torch. They light the way. I know this, they cannot silence me. No storm can drown my voice. I have forged my purpose in that furnace. I know what I will do. I will press on. I will move forward. I will never again shrink. I will never again yield. The darkness that once threatened to snuff out my flame now only fans it higher. This is my rise. This is my claim. And from these shadows I have built something unstoppable. And so I stand here, not as a victim of circumstance, not as a casualty of the trials they engineered, but as the embodiment of defiance itself. They thought the weight of the world would bury me, but the truth is I learned how to breathe beneath the rubble. Every stone, every chain, every whispered curse they placed on my shoulders only carved me sharper, made me leaner, turned me into something they can't categorize. I am not their success story, and I am not their failure either. I am the contradiction they never accounted for, the anomaly that refuses to vanish. They can keep rewriting the rules, but I will keep breaking them because my existence is the loophole they can't close. The voices, the critics, the doubters. They spent years trying to shrink me into silence, hoping I'd bow beneath their pressure. But silence taught me something they didn't expect. It taught me patience, it taught me strategy. I listened, I watched, I waited. And when the moment came, I rose with a roar that cracked the air. They looked at me and saw destruction, but what I carried was rebirth. They thought I was playing their game, but I was writing my own. And the rules of my game are simple. No surrender, no compromise, no retreat. Only the relentless march forward, even when the ground is shaking, even when the sky is falling. The truth is, resilience is not a gift. It is not bestowed, it is earned, clawed and carved through blood and grit. Resilience is refusing to let them own the narrative of your downfall. It's taking every scar, every insult, every betrayal, and building a throne from the bones of failure. That's what strength is. It's not the absence of weakness, it's the audacity to rise even when weakness has had its feast. And now here I am, standing in the aftermath, a survivor, yes, but more than that, a force, a storm with a pulse, a weapon they forged but can no longer control. Then hear this truth carved in marrow and fire. Survival was never the end game, it was the rehearsal. Every time I was pushed down, I wasn't just crawling back, I was gathering pieces, building an arsenal. My scars became blueprints, my failures became strategies, my silence became a blade sharper than any scream. They don't realize it yet, but what they tried to bury has sprouted into something monstrous. I am no longer waiting for their approval, no longer begging for their acceptance. The chains they wrapped around me have turned into armor, and the pain they handed me has become my weapon. I am not asking for space at the table, I am flipping the damn table over and setting fire to the room. They look at me now with that mixture of fear and disbelief, because deep down, they know. They know I wasn't meant to come this far. They know they designed the system to crush me, to fold me neatly into another forgotten tragedy. But instead, I bent the system until it screamed. I took every rule, every wall, every locked door, and shattered them until all that was left was smoke and echoes. And standing in that smoke, I found myself, Not a victim, not a pawn, a force so feral, so deliberate that even the architects of my destruction can't map me anymore. I became the chaos in their order, the fracture in their perfect plan. And now when I walk, I don't walk alone. My steps carry the weight of every trial survived, every night endured, every doubt devoured. My shadow stretches longer than their reach, my voice cuts deeper than their threats. I am the storm they tried to contain, and storms do not apologize. Let them stare, let them whisper, let them tremble at the sight of someone who was supposed to break but instead chose to rise. Because the greatest revenge is not rage, it's persistence. The loudest scream is not in your throat, it's in the life you build from ashes. And I will keep building brick by brutal brick until the world no longer asks if I belong. It will simply accept that I cannot be removed. Understand something. They never planned for someone like me. They crafted a machine meant to grind the spirit out of anyone who dared resist, and they expected me to collapse under the gears. But instead of being crushed, I learned how the machine worked. I studied every turn, every bolt, every hidden flaw until I realized the truth. It wasn't built to hold me. It was built to expose me to pressure, to force me into corners so I'd either break or evolve. And I chose evolution. Every moment of suffocation only expanded my lungs. Every weight that was meant to pin me down only thickened the bones in my back. And now when I move with the understanding that no design, no system, no blueprint crafted by their trembling hands can contain the architecture of my will. There's a rage that comes from betrayal, from abandonment, from being buried alive in silence while the world pretends it doesn't hear your screams. I let that rage ferment inside me until it burned away weakness. It taught me the discipline of patience, the rhythm of timing, the savagery of precision. That rage, once a fire threatening to consume me, is now a furnace inside my chest, steady and controlled, feeding every step I take. They see the calm exterior and think I have softened, but they do not understand. This calm is the warning before an earthquake. My silence is not surrender, it's a countdown. And when it ends, nothing in their fragile order will remain untouched. The ones who doubted me, the ones who laughed while I stumbled. They thought survival was humiliation. They saw me crawl and mistook it for weakness. But crawling is still forward motion, and every inch I dragged myself was another mile. They underestimated. By the time I rose again, I wasn't who I was before. I had absorbed the dirt, the poison, the venom they tried to drown me with, and I transmuted it into strength. Now they look at me with confusion because the very weapons they used against me have become the steel in my veins. Their hatred stitched my armor, their rejection forged my crown, their lies built my stage. They can't comprehend that what they meant for my destruction has become my foundation. I do not crave their validation, and I do not seek their forgiveness. What I seek is dominance, not over them, but over myself. Because when you master yourself, when you crush the voice inside that says quit, when you rise from your own ashes with no hand to pull you up, then you become untouchable. They can send storms, but storms cannot drown fire. They can build cages, but cages cannot hold the sky. And I am both fire and sky, consuming vast, without boundary. From the depths of their rejection, I have carved a new identity. From the weight of their mockery, I have built a fortress. And now I walk not as the one they tried to erase, but as the reminder that nothing born of suffering can ever be silenced. Wasn't lifted by miracles, I wasn't rescued by saviors. I was sharpened by the blade of every failure and every betrayal. I stitched myself back together with threads of fire and blood, and every scar became a scripture carved into my skin. They thought they were burying me in a grave, but all they were doing was planting me in soil rich enough to grow into something they could no longer kill. The grave became the garden, and the garden became a battlefield. And on that battlefield I rose, not delicate, not gentle, but armored, jagged, and merciless. What they never understood is that strength does not come dressed in comfort. Strength is born when you choke on dust, when you taste your own blood, when you wake up with nothing and still find the will to crawl. They thought pain was a weapon to destroy me, but pain became my compass. It pointed me toward who I was meant to be all along. Pain stripped me down, burned away the excess and left only the steel. And once you've been reduced to steel, there's no going back. You can bend me, dent me, scar me, but you cannot shatter me. That's what they see now and cannot comprehend, that their cruelty created something beyond their control. Now I stand as a contradiction that terrifies them. I am both the wound and the weapon, both the shadow and the light breaking through it. I am not defined by survival, I am defined by transformation. What they tried to kill has come back louder, sharper, and more relentless. Every word I speak now is not for applause, not for recognition, it is a warning. A warning to those who thought the system was absolute, a warning to those who built their power on the suffering of others. Because the moment you teach someone how to survive the fire, you also teach them how to become it. And now I don't just endure the flames, I am the flames. They will keep asking, how did you endure? How did you survive? But the truth is, I didn't just survive, I evolved. And the world will have to answer for that evolution. It will have to adjust to my existence because I will not bend to fit inside the boundaries they drew. I've burned the map, I've erased the limits, and now I stand where no one thought I could stand, unbroken, undeniable, unstoppable. This is not just my rise, it is my reign. Then let me speak it like a prophecy, because what's coming isn't polite or patient, it's inevitable. I am no longer a chapter in their book. I am the ink they can't wash off the page, the crack in the marble pillar, the tremor that runs through their carefully built towers before they collapse. Every attempt they made to erase me became a line in my scripture. Every trap they set became another set of stairs. And I climbed higher, through dust and poison, through the laughter and the lies, until I reached a place they never wanted me to see, my own power. And once you've seen your own power, you don't unsee it. Once you've stood at the edge of your own annihilation and refused to step off, you don't go back to being someone's pawn. This is the part they never tell you about survival. Survival isn't just breathing. Survival is metamorphosis. It's a kind of violence, a shedding of skins, a ripping apart of who you were taught to be. You claw your way out of the old self with bloody hands and stand there trembling, unrecognizable, unafraid. And when you finally stand, you realize the chains they wrapped around you were not made of iron, they were made of stories, lies, labels, narratives, and you burned them all. You burned their stories and wrote your own. That is why they fear you now. Not because you are strong, but because you are free. Freedom tastes like fire. It's not sweet, it's not easy, it's raw and jagged, and it demands you keep choosing it every single day. I've chosen it over and over. Chosen to rise instead of fold, chosen to walk instead of crawl, chosen to burn instead of freeze. And now when they look at me, they see not just a survivor, but a signal to everyone else crawling in the dark that you can stand, you can fight, you can rise. They see in me the proof that the system can be broken, that the unbreakable can be made, and that terrifies them more than any scream. A storm like this doesn't just rise, it recruits. You standing there with your fists clenched, your jaw tight, your eyes burning like mine once did. You think you're alone in your fight. You think your silence is proof of your weakness. But I'm telling you now, your silence is training you. Your scars are training you. Your nights of doubt, your mornings of rage, your afternoons where the weight feels like a mountain, they're not punishment, they're preparation. You're not being broken, you're being built. You're not being ignored, you're being sharpened. Every single time you survive another hour you swore would kill you, you're stacking bricks on a fortress no one will ever breach again. And when you finally rise, and you will, you won't rise soft. You won't rise asking for permission. You will rise like thunder with a spine full of lightning. You will rise so loud they'll mistake you for an earthquake. You will rise so sure of who you are that even their lies will break against you like waves on stone. And when that day comes, the same people who whispered about you, doubted you, dismissed you, they'll be the ones staring at your shadow, because your shadow will be bigger than their reach, bigger than their rules, bigger than their names. They won't understand how you survived, and you won't have to explain. Your existence will be the explanation. So take this as a warning and a blessing. The dark isn't your enemy. The dark is your forge. The weight isn't your executioner. The weight is your muscle. The pain isn't your prison. The pain is your teacher. And if you can endure it, if you can keep walking through it, if you can drag yourself through one more night, one more insult, one more locked door, then on the other side you will find not the person you were, but the person you were always meant to be. unbent, untamed, unapologetic, unstoppable. I am not a miracle, I am not luck, I am not chosen, I am a process. A decision repeated daily. A refusal turned into a habit. A wound turned into a weapon. And if I can do this, you can too. If you're listening, if you're breathing, if you're still here, it means you haven't been beaten. It means you're still in the fight. It means you're still being built. Keep going, keep crawling, keep rising. One day you'll stand where I'm standing now, and when you do, you won't whisper either. You'll roar. So here I am, not begging, not waiting, not hiding. I am the living consequence of their cruelty. I am the echo of every silence they forced on me. I am the answer they didn't want to hear. And I am not done. My rise is not a peak, it's a path paved with ashes, scars, and the sound of my own footsteps getting louder. They will call it defiance, they will call it madness, they will call it impossible. Let them. I call it living, I call it power, I call it mine. Like, comment, and subscribe.